Okay. Alright, so I think we're good. Hey. Um. Alright. Last bit we were on. Oh, hello. Trying to remember exactly where we left off. It was we had a glimpse. Hello. We had a glimpse into Beatrice's past. Um, and they also talked about Hamel's Raven, the anti-devil's proof, or some such. Um, if she can open up the 19th box and prove that it wasn't them, then Battler has to prove that it's one of the 18, without a shadow of a doubt. But that argument kind of got all jumbled up, and they end up coming to the point where Beatrice was revealing things about herself, and her butler man, Ronave, um, said in red that there was a house in 1967, and there was a human Beatrice there at that time. Which, interesting and sad and, hard to piece together. Apparently there is a hidden mansion on the island. Well, let's see where it goes from there. Alright. Why am I, the oldest sister of the 7 stakes of purgatory, being summoned for menial tasks like this? Even though Beato-sama could have told one of the younger sisters, who look like they've got nothing better to do. Sheesh. Why so grumpy, Nei-chan? If you're hungry, get a cookie or something. Why don't I give you the last one? How thoughtful. Then, shall I take one? I casually pushed the snack plate with the last remaining cookie over to her. Thank you. As though coming as a period at the end of the sentence, a sharp sound pierced the table. The nails of 3 of her fingers extended, grew sharp, and pierced the space between my fingers on the hand that was pushing the plate, missing them by a hair's breadth. It had happened in an instant, but for a while, I didn't even realize that her fingernails had grown. The tips of those sharp nails were like blades with a red manicure. The spaces between the bases of my fingers hurt sharply. Those very sharp blades had been plunged into the table a hair's breadth away from the back of my hand and my fingers. Because of those 3 blades, I was unable to even let my careless right hand tremble. By now, all I could do was let a bead of cold sweat drip down. Oh, Nei-chan, isn't it about time you cut your nails? It's Lucifer. That is my glorious name. The honored furniture who serves Beatrice-sama and the older sister of the 7 stakes of purgatory. I'm not like my disgraceful younger sisters. If you don't show proper respect, you will regret it. And why would I regret it, exactly? Can't really think of a reason. The stupid kid. Do you really want to play with me that much? Was it that unforgettable? I'll thrust my stake deep into you and let you enjoy being gouged to the fullest, okay? Damn it. Someday I'll have you down on the floor and say the same thing. really? Well, I can't wait. How was my holiday? It was pretty nice. Nothing spectacular, nothing big and fancy. We just had some food prepared and just kind of chilled for the day. Yeah, the whole family was there on the day, which is actually kind of rare for us. Maybe everybody just kind of split out, but it was nice. Turkey, piggy buns, donuts, chips and cheese, stuff like that. Just chilling. Pretty cool. Rosa eventually regained her calm. The men who wanted to hurry her into talking faster, but Kiri intervened. If something like that really had happened, then it would have been a terrible experience that Rosa wouldn't want to remember. After taking several deep breaths with her hand over her chest, it seemed that she had more or less resolved herself to talk. How old was I then? I wonder. Middle school, probably, though I don't remember well. Anyway, I think it was about that age, which means maybe about 20 years ago? Back then, my grades weren't very good, and Mother was always angry at me. I tried to do my best in my own way, but I couldn't match up to Mother's expectations at all. Mother was always very strict with Rosa. I sympathized her with at the time. You say that even though you were always talking behind her back. Would you give it a rest, Eva? And then? Where did you meet Beatrice, Rosa-san? Hideyoshi-san, you mustn't rush her now. It's okay, Rosa-san. Tell us at your own pace. Thank you. It was the day I'd been harshly scolded by Mother. Even though my tutor had promised to keep it a secret, apparently they told Mother all about how I had complained. Mother scolded me brutally, saying my name was a disgrace to the Ushirimiya family. Of course, I was doing the best I could, but I had none of Kraus-Nisan's dignity. I couldn't get excellent grades like Eva Nisan, and I had no leadership abilities like Rudolf Nisan. I never stood out, didn't particularly excel at anything, and I found myself asking why I'd even been born in the Ushirimiya family. I began to question more and more why I'd even been born at all. This is what happened on the day I experienced my mind going blank for the first time. For the first time in my life, I realized that in addition to facing or surrendering to my problems, I had the third choice of running away. Though I say run away, there was no way I could have left Rokkenjima and gone somewhere else. But, anyway, I wanted to run away from the mansion and my own self at that time. In a way, it was like a kid running away from home, or maybe a passive sort of suicide. I wanted to disappear, or maybe it was that childlike form of resistance where I tried to make my parents worry by disappearing. I childishly thought that if I went into the center of the forest, escaped from the Ushirimiya house, and maybe became lost, then I'd make them worry and teach them a lesson. And then, you went into the forest that you were told never to enter? Yes. After reaching the beach, I followed alongside the ocean. I didn't have any particular reason, but I felt that if I went around to the opposite side of the island, there might be a place there that no one knew about, which might become a hidden house, just for me. If you go around by the beach, that'd be impossible. It becomes a cliff part way, right? There's no way you could pass that way. Of course. So I kept going wherever I could, which kept taking me deeper and deeper inland. It's a horrible forest without any paths, but that was comforting to me then. If I could make it through such a dangerous forest, then I'd be that much further away from the Ushirimiya family. That's shameful. If you were scolded because of your grades, all you had to do was work harder. You mustn't say that. Doesn't Rosa have her talent as a designer instead? Literally speaking, he was covering for Rosa, but everyone knew that Rosa's company hadn't been profitable. Quit it. This is no time for sarcasm. So, you managed to end up there by coincidence? At Beatrice's hidden mansion. Rosa nodded weakly. About how far did you walk? Could you show it to us on a map? Tatsui-san, do you have a map of this island? No, there isn't one here now. It wouldn't help. I was just walking randomly. Even if you gave me a map, I wouldn't know. And 20 years have passed since then. I probably couldn't reach it again even if I went into the forest. Several people let out dejected sighs. It was vividly clear that in their haste they had thought some hint related to the witch's epitaph, or maybe the gold itself might be resting there. On Rokkenjima, all his land around the mansion is ready to be developed on. The rest is completely uncultivated, and it'd probably take a lot of work to survey the entire island. But just knowing that it actually exists is helpful. It would take some money, but if we enlisted an aerial photography company to investigate, or asked the businessman who constructed this mansion about what happened at the time, we could probably find some way to search for it. That's right. At least we have more options now, as opposed to when we weren't sure it existed. Indeed. It may be worth investigating right away. The siblings will do that investigation together. We won't leave you on your own, Nii-san. It wasn't yet certain that the gold was hidden in that secret mansion, but the sparks seemed to have started flying between Kraus and Eva already. Give it a rest for now, you two. Rosa, please continue. Yes. Blindly, randomly, I kept running on and on. Suddenly, I came across something I thought was an animal trail. I was very tired and had no idea how far I'd walked, so at that time I naturally took the easiest path. As I did, suddenly, right before my eyes, a very, very tall fence appeared. It was a fence wonderfully adorned in a Gothic style. For an instant, I thought I'd gotten turned around and returned to the original mansion. Of course, there were fences around the mansion to stop us from entering the forest, but this fence was decorated differently, and moreover, it was very tall. It probably reached a full 2 stories up. It was covered with ivy and created a mysterious, solemn atmosphere. 2-story tall fence? At the time, I believed in the legend of the Witch of the Forest, Beatrice. I had been told that she was frightening, but some of the servants told me that she'd sometimes help you if you respected her. Since I had little confidence in those days, I believed the only way I could be saved was by receiving her help. That's why I thought what I did. I believed that this was the fence of the mansion belonging to Beatrice, the Witch of the Forest. I thought that if I could meet with Beatrice, she'd definitely save me. So I decided to try going in. The fence was very, very tall, and it didn't look like I'd be able to go over it. So I chose to walk around it. I thought that if I did, I'd eventually reach a gate. But it wasn't that easy. The fence had an incredible length to match its incredible height. No matter how far I went, I didn't reach a corner. It might have encircled a massive area, or maybe I just had that impression because my child's legs made it difficult to walk in the forest. Anyway, I couldn't find a gate for a while, and I started to feel sad as though the witch had rejected me. As I did, I eventually came upon a large tree, whose twisted root had bent the fence. It might get my clothes dirty, but if I crawled, it looked like I'd be able to sneak in. And there you found the hidden mansion? I don't know if it was the hidden mansion we've been talking about. Still, at the very least, it wasn't the place that we know of. It wasn't as though I came out into a garden as soon as I passed the fence. I had to continue through a lot more uncultivated forest after that. As I did, the forest suddenly opened up, and what appeared there was an unbelievable, fantastical scene. To think that, on Rokkenjima, where I thought only we lived, there could be such a wonderful mansion hidden away. A beautiful flower garden spanned the front of the mansion. It was a flower garden of a completely different design from the rose garden we know so well, and it was very lovely. Of course, the mansion was also wonderful. It was a couple sizes smaller than ours, but it was still elegant and adorable at the same time. Then, I saw her figure. I saw her sitting in a garden chair positioned to give the view of the flower garden wearing an elegant dress. It was that black dress embroidered in gold that we would later know from that portrait. I hadn't seen an elegant dress like that except in fairy tales and on the stage of musicals. For a person to be wearing it as her normal clothes, that in itself seemed quite fantastical. That mysterious scene was enough to make me lose my sense of reality. If someone had told me then that it was a dream, I might have nodded obediently and waited to wake up in my bed. I had forgotten to hide myself in my shock, so she eventually spotted me. At first, her expression was quite listless, but when she noticed me, her eyes opened very wide. It was only natural, considering that a guest she didn't know had suddenly appeared. I lowered my head automatically, planning to greet her and apologize for entering without permission. Who are you? The new gardener? Those were the first words she said to me. I grew slightly calmer, because I realized that we could talk to each other. Because I hadn't been turned into a frog just by meeting her eyes, just like a terrifying witch in a fairy tale. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have entered the garden without permission. Who are you? Name yourself. I am Ushimiya Rosa. Ushimiya. Oh, one of Kinzo's family. Huh? Yes. I'm Kinzo's daughter. Good afternoon. I was a little surprised. After all, father was a great man, feared by everyone. And yet, she had spoken of him without using honorifics. So, I was immediately terrified of her. After all, if she could refer to my fearsome father that way, she must be a witch with incredible power. After staring at me curiously, she beckoned me to come over. Frightened as I was, I obeyed. After all, I thought she might really turn me into a frog. The closer I got, the stronger that fear became. After all, as I keep saying over and over, that woman and her dress, and the flower garden and the mansion, that whole picture was so fantastical and beautiful that it seemed separate from reality. It probably wouldn't have surprised me at all to learn that she really was a witch. And I really was lucky. She hadn't turned me into a frog. As I awkwardly stood there, stock still, she motioned to an open chair and urged me to sit down. Have a seat. Welcoming and speaking to those who visit this garden for the first time is my sole pleasure. Of course, I have no pleasures other than that. As she said this, she let an unhappy smile show for just an instant. Because I was full of a strange mix of tension and excitement, I rudely asked her a question all of a sudden. Are you the Witch of the Forest, Beatrice? Indeed. I am Beatrice. As I thought, Beatrice actually existed. Did she really look like the portrait? Yes, really, just like the portrait. So, she wasn't just a witch from father's imagination. Well, what did you talk with her about? As she prepared some tea, she asked me all kinds of things about myself. First, she was surprised that I had come to the forest. It seemed she believed that many dangerous wolves lived outside the fence. So when I told her I'd come to the forest to reach this place, she was shocked. She asked how I had managed to escape from the wolves. Did I give them a biscuit and they let me go? Did I cover myself in a magic cloak? That kind of thing. That sure sounds like a witch. What an interesting person. Quiet, dear. This goes way back. But didn't Father threaten us, saying we should never get near the forest because of the wolves that live there? Yes, he did say something of the sort. Ridiculous. Even though Japanese wolves went extinct long ago. Truly a trick to fool children. I don't remember, though. Did Dad really tell us something like that? It was the Witch of the Forest, right? I don't think I've ever heard about wolves. This is when you were still in elementary school. Don't you remember? Back then, you actually said you thought it'd be cool to try petting the wolves. Father immediately gave up the wolf story and changed it to the story of the witch. Seriously, what transparent lies they were. At the time, the witch story had a much more immediate effect on you, Rudolph, than the wolves. I remember it well. Don't you remember those nights when you clung to my back? I see. So even Rudolph-san used to be that cute. Shut up. I was just a kid. Well, at any rate, if Father's the one who shut Beatrice up in there, it makes sense that he'd use the same story about wolves. To him, the vast forest of Rokkenjima was a wall that shouldn't be crossed, dividing his two incompatible worlds. He assured me of family and his mistress's mansion. Considering the height of that fence, it does sound as though Father turned that whole area, garden and all, into a giant jail cell. Just like a border dividing his two separate worlds. Wolves aside, could there have been some breed of stray dogs there at the time? Perhaps the fence is there to protect against those. There aren't any wolves or stray dogs on Rokkenjima. That fence is probably a border between us and Beatrice. But if she innocently believes that story about wolves, that's pretty naive. That's nothing like what I'd expect a witch to do. You're right. I sensed that too. She was very pompous, just like my image of a witch. But she was somehow very childish. She was, how should I put it, too straightforward. She gave me the impression that she didn't know anything about the world. It was as though she'd come from some fairy tale land. She really was a strange person. What happened after that? Did you end up talking about Dad at all? Yes. Once every few days, usually on an arranged day, but sometimes suddenly, Father would casually appear and they'd drink together, or else take a walk together, or something. She said she just happened to be alone on the day I visited. I see. An obvious mistress, you might say. My. I don't know how much younger she was, but good for Father. You can be sure this is no indecent relationship. Idiot. There's no way a lover's meeting between a man and a woman wouldn't have some sensuality. What happened next? What did you talk about after that? I'd already introduced myself, so I asked about her. When I did, the atmosphere quickly grew depressing. How should I put it? She seemed to grow listless and lonely. It was that same expression I saw on her face in the beginning. Well, she was his hidden mistress after all. If she just walked around wherever she liked, Mom might have found her. I'll bet she was practically under house arrest. Even though she had beautiful clothes, a beautiful mansion, and a garden, she must have felt pretty cramped. I'll bet she had it rough. And then? She was definitely worried about something. I remember feeling really sad myself when I realized it wasn't something I could do anything about by talking to her. She seemed to forget I was even there. She gazed vaguely off into the distance, and was silent for a long, long time. I thought I must have said something wrong, but it didn't seem to be the type of atmosphere where I could apologize. So I remained silent, too, for a long, long time, until she remembered I was there. And then, she muttered unexpectedly. Are there really no wolves beyond the fence? Huh? Yes, that's right. I've never seen wolves, not even in a zoo. What is a zoo? It's a place where they keep all kinds of animals. They're full of rare animals like elephants and giraffes and pandas. So, there aren't any wolves in a zoo? Then, it might not be so scary. Even if there were wolves, all of the animals are put in cages, so it's safe. That's why you can safely look at them and learn about them. The mighty Witch of the Forest was apparently terrified of wolves. I remember it looked pretty funny to me at the time. And how am I any different? Huh? She didn't know about zoos. I explained how fun zoos could be, but it was very difficult for a person like her, who had never visited one, to understand. On the contrary, as I explained it to her, her expression grew increasingly dismal. She couldn't see the difference. Apparently, even though she lived in an elegant mansion that was surrounded by a high fence and seemed to lack for nothing, she couldn't see how she was any different from animals shut up in cages. Who am I? Everyone calls me Beatrice, and that does indeed seem to be the name of a great witch, as you say. But that isn't me. I cannot use any magic. I simply have the soul of that witch sealed inside my body. There is definitely something odd about her. Beyond just being cut off from the world, it seems she truly believes that magic exists. I think she talked about lots of weird things, but I don't remember the details. All I thought was that this might be the person to be pitied. She was unable to leave this mansion of her own free will, a prisoner without even realizing it. And she didn't know anything about the outside world, didn't even understand who she was. She probably vaguely realized that she was to be pitied, but since she didn't know anything, she seemed incapable of recognizing her own unhappiness. Long ago, when I told Nathan that I felt sorry for a bird in a cage, she said this: "A bird that only knows about the inside of the cage doesn't long for the outside." But this wasn't a bird. She really was a person. Even if she'd never been outside the cage, she understood that there was more to the world. So, I invited her. Do you want to try going outside the fence? There really aren't any wolves? There aren't. It'll definitely be safe. I want to leave. But the gate is always closed. There's the place I came in through. It's got a crack you can slip through. If you go through there, will there be a world outside? Yes. There really aren't any wolves? Right, there aren't any. I'd only planned on inviting her to go on a short walk, but she kept looking over her shoulder at the mansion as though she was seriously worrying over the decision. Then, I learned what she was preparing herself for. I have had enough of this place. I want to go outside, and I want to know who I am, what's happening in this world, and why I was born. I didn't know what her life had been like before then. It was probably something she couldn't express easily. If it was harsh, she just had to say she wanted to escape. If it was sweet, she just had to say she'll stay. For example, maybe it was like how a hot fireplace on a winter day makes the air get thicker and thicker, giving you a headache. Even though you know you shouldn't keep things the way they are, you still need courage to open the window and be tormented by the cold wind. She was starting to realize that she couldn't stay there forever. She was starting to realize that she had to go outside someday. But, since she didn't know about the outside world, she must have needed courage to take that unspeakable first step outside. And despite that, she had made her decision. She'd voiced her decision to go outside, a decision she was probably making for the first time in her life. I hesitated for a moment. Father had decided that she should live here. She was like Father's beloved bird in a cage. If I just let her escape, Father might scold me harshly. I want to see. See what? I want to see a zoo. Oh. I was just a little surprised when she finally gave me a gentle smile. Could that have been a far-sightedness brought about by her decision to venture out from her cage? It was a smile so gentle I couldn't imagine that it had come from that once dark face. When I speak with you, I keep hearing about things I don't know. I don't even know about this thing called school, nor do I know about zoos. I don't know about movie theaters. I don't know about amusement parks. And I feel, from the bottom of my heart, that I want to know about those things. Will you take me to see them? Huh? Yes? I was nervous about how I could keep it a secret from Father, but her face looked so happy, so I went along with her and nodded. But she seemed not to notice the meaning behind my vague smile. She seemed to believe that I'd really take her to all those places. She was pure and genuine. She'd probably never been tricked by anyone. No, maybe it's better to say that she'd never learned how to doubt. Her smile was somehow radiant, and yet pathetic. I wanted to find a way to grant her modest wish. I have had enough of Beatrice. I want to know who I am. I want to start out as a new human, not Beatrice. So, I want you to take me away from here. I don't need tea anymore. I don't need this dress. I won't meet with Kinzo again. Please, take me from here, Rosa. However, that responsibility was one that a child like me couldn't hope to fully bear. Still, when I saw her serious gaze, along with that brilliant smile that made it look as though a possessing spirit had left her, I could feel a little courage start to rise up inside me. This was definitely something that would get me into a lot of trouble. And yet, it was definitely the right thing to do. I don't know how it'll turn out, but I'll take her away from here. Of course, I won't be able to talk to Father, and not Mother either. Should I talk to Oni-sama or One-sama? No. What about that reliable Genji-san? Or, that's right, what about Kumasawa-san, to whom I can always talk when I'm in trouble? I'm sure they'll be able to do something. Anyway, for now, I'll take her out of here. This is already a place she didn't want to be. So, I took her to the crack in the fence and led her outside. She was all nervous, checking to make sure there were no wolves around. Once that fear dissipated, even just walking around this dense forest seemed to be fun somehow. Every time she found something, she'd ask me about it. And they were all really trivial things. What's that flower? What's that leaf? And that sound? And that smell? It really was like the inside of a fence had been her entire world. So, now that she traveled beyond the limits of her world. It's strange. When I first saw her, I really thought she was the witch herself, relaxing inside the witch's mansion. Hey, Sekito, welcome. But now, it was different. Or actually, the complete opposite. She'd left a world she believed to be finite, and was overjoyed at the realization that the world was endless, something she'd never thought of before. So everything she saw was new. It was almost as though she was the one who had been thrown into a fairy tale. If she was Alice, then I felt almost like a rabbit holding a watch. To her, it was probably a really fun walk, filled to the brim with excitement. But I was actually at a loss as to what to do. After all, I walked randomly to get there. Of course, I didn't know the way back to our mansion. There were no lights in the forest, and I hadn't brought a flashlight. I realized it would be terrible if it got dark while we were still like this, and grew impatient. She was too innocent, and apparently she couldn't understand at all how frightening it would be to face the night inside the forest. But I was the one who brought her outside. I had to take responsibility somehow and resolve this situation. So I had a thought. Let's go out to the ocean for now. If we then follow the beach around, we should eventually make it back to the mansion. However, that was much more of a problem than I'd imagined. I didn't have a map or a compass. There was no way I could walk in a straight line through an uncultivated forest, and I immediately lost my sense of direction. No. I only do mine. I can't watch other streamers. My internet doesn't allow it. But, what's that one like? LHC, I've not heard of them before. I already had no clue which trail I had come by, and was completely lost. At this rate, night would definitely fall before I had a clue where to walk. But this was no time to cry. After all, that woman falling behind me was so innocent and having so much fun. So I definitely had to lead the way through this forest, for the sake of her smile as well. Gritting my teeth so that she didn't see me looking troubled, I pushed my way through the woods, advancing down a path that wasn't a path. Then, after going through various troubles, I fortunately managed to reach the ocean. At that time, I still didn't even have a clue where I was on the island, but for the time being, I was just a little reassured, realizing that if I just went around this way, I would surely be able to return to the mansion. However, though I had reached the ocean, we were at the top of a rock cliff. The beach was far below us. I was tired from walking around the forest for so long, so I figured that an open area, even a rocky beach, would probably be much easier to walk in. So I just suggested we go down that rocky cliff somehow. It looked pretty dangerous, but I figured there was no other way. However, Beatrice agreed to my plan without any doubts. Even though she was probably older than me, she meekly obeyed, almost as though she were some kind of chick who thought I was her mother. It was on a recommended list is how I got to it. And it's one that's been referenced over and over. I've seen Beatrice's face all over in posts referencing princesses or like witches and stuff, and never knew the reference. And it's like, I want to know what that means. Who is that person? Why are they making reference? And it was recommended on a list of recommended visual novels, and it's like, and I finally got it on like some GOG sale, like 80% off or something, and said, you know what? Why not? Let's try it. So I have questions and answers arc on here. Never read any of it until this stream here. Well, this stream story time. I don't know. But yeah, it's pretty cool so far. Well, that was me. So that was, I would be mad at it. I don't mind long stories. In fact, I actually kind of prefer them as long as they don't just keep going. Good things do have to have an ending. Otherwise, they just drag on to meaninglessness. But yeah, 1,000+ hour adventure. It's fine. It's cool. I'm on episode 3. I've been doing it every day for a while now. It's pretty cool so far. I searched to see if there was some part of the cliff I'd be able to get down. Then, I found a place where the cliff had fallen over and made a slope. It looked a little dangerous, but if I went down using both hands and both legs like I was crawling, I thought it'd probably be okay. Let's go down here. It'll be dangerous if we aren't careful. But if we go down to the beach and walk along it, I don't think we'll have to worry about being lost anymore. Indeed. If that's what you're doing, I'll go too. Even getting lost is fun for me. Quite amusing. She really had no sense of danger. There's probably no doubt that she'd live a life without discomfort. Even though she knew it would get dark when night fell, she couldn't imagine how dangerous the inside of a forest could be without a light. Furthermore, it seemed that she couldn't grasp at all how dangerous it might be if she fell from the cliff. I warned her repeatedly to be careful. I cautiously examined our potential route down. It seemed to be quite a long drop. I think it might have been about 10 meters down. If you looked at it from the bottom up, it would probably have looked shorter than the roof to the mansion. But looking from the top, it almost felt like staring down from the observation room on Tokyo Tower. Beatrice still appeared to be completely without fear. It felt as though she had never even been taught that high places were dangerous. No, maybe she believed that she was a witch, and that she could fly, so there wasn't any need to worry. Please be careful. We're pretty high up. Indeed. I shall be careful. It looks like we can get to the ocean if we go down. Is there an aquarium there? No, there aren't any aquariums on this island. But there should be lots of fish in the sea. I see. So there are fish? Are there, whales and dolphins and penguins like you talked about? No, you'd have to go to an aquarium for those. And you'd have to leave this island to find an aquarium. Is that so? Well, I'm looking forward to it. What kind of fish are whales? They're really big fish. Huh, aren't they mammals? And they spit seawater into the air. Oh, and dolphins? They're really smart fish and... Oh, aren't they also mammals? They're really smart and can be cut tricks and stuff. Oh. And what about penguins? Weren't they birds? What's going on? We're talking about aquariums, but none of these things seem to be fish. There aren't just fish, it's full of all kinds of things that live in the ocean. Oh, I really am looking forward to that. She let out what might have been a funny, rushed and short cry. No, it was probably a scream. It came right out of the blue. Her body separated from the cliff and silently fell. I immediately wanted to say something to her. I wanted to say, "Didn't I tell you to be more careful?" It was the thought of a child. It was how a child immediately gets mad when something bad happens, trying to find an excuse to show it wasn't their fault. Of course, I said it out loud. Are you okay? Didn't I warn you over and over? So, she fell from the cliff, and then what? What happened to her? Rosa. Rosa fell silent. Her gaze dropped to her feet, as though she were seeing through the floor into some disgusting memory. She died, didn't she? Eva's brutal words were the ones Rosa had most wanted to avoid. And she was hit with them, she screamed in resignation. Yes, she died! It was a rocky beach, with lots of sharp, dangerous rocks exposed. Her eyes were still open, and an incredible amount of blood kept pouring out, quickly spurting out until it looked like a red carpet. I spoke to her, shook her, But she refused to respond, not even a blink. No, she wouldn't even close her eyelids. It was my fault. She was wearing a dress, remember? Even though I knew her outfit was difficult to move in, I said we should go down the cliff. She was incredibly innocent, so she obeyed what I said without any doubts. How long do you plan on remaining dead? Open your eyes already. Darn you, turning into a lump of meat all by yourself while I'm gone. Thanks, Rosa. Very cool, huh? I was just flirting with your S-Nachon friends. More importantly, what the heck's going on here? Well, as you can see, I missed my footing, fell down, and died. What the hell? Even though you showed up as the 19th person, you were already dead? Don't mess with me. That's impossible. Aunt Rosa was a kid, and she was panicked. And it's not like a doctor was there. She probably just mistakenly thought you were dead, and you were probably, alive and pretending to be dead, or something. Isn't that right? It can't be true. She's got to be alive. Otherwise, how can she be here? The kid-aged Aunt Rosa shook Beatrice's body, crying. I stared into that face too, but her eyes were still open and it really was a corpse. I wanted to dodge the issue by saying something vague, like she must be playing dead. But no matter how I looked at it, it didn't look fake at all. It really did look like she was dead. Beatrice had fallen upside down from a cliff of that height, and her head had smashed against the pointed tip of those sharp rocks. Yeah, you probably would die after landing on those rocks from that height. But I couldn't accept it. No matter how dead she looked, she had to be alive. Then, she went on to become this damn irritating witch. That makes all the inconsistencies fit. Grandfather must have kept her confined, constantly in a hidden mansion. Then, to take revenge for that, she committed several atrocious murders. Aunt Rosa probably just mistakenly thought she was dead. But she was actually alive, and as soon as Aunt Rosa left, would miraculously breathe again. Then, she somehow lived on until today and opened the curtain on her revenge drama. Otherwise, the facts don't fit together. That's really, really flimsy. I won't let you trick me so easily. Can you repeat it in red? That she's certainly dead. She has to be alive, right? It's obvious. How does that look alive to you? It's definitely dead. My theory that the 19th person was Grandfather's mistress, a human Beatrice, had been defeated. I had planned to strike back from a defensive position, but... Then... Who are you? You just died, right? Don't tell me you revived yourself with magic. I've already explained that, have I not? The me lying over there definitely possesses my soul. But that body is nothing more than a cage of flesh tying me to the physical world. This is how that cage of flesh was broken. Do you understand what that means? I don't have a clue anymore. Keep having fun with your witch girl tricks. I'll listen to that in place of a snack. What the? It's empty. Hey, can I get some more black tea? Unraveling. Our guest would like some tea. When Beato clapped her hands, Unraveling appeared. Butlers sure are convenient. A refill, you say? Certainly. How much shall I pour you? Well, I've got more than enough snacks. Half will be fine. Even so, filling it to the brim is the English custom. Even though just enough to wet my throat would have been fine, he filled it to the top. I turned my back to Beato, sipping it in silence. Sulking. Hey, open your eyes. Beatrice! Rosa shook me. No. Shook the corpse of that had once been me. I watched over her from a short distance away. Oh, so I fell from there and died. For a while, I believed that was true. I saw Rosa spend a long time beside my corpse, and watched her as she ran away. Eventually, I realized that I was different, and I was a different individual from that corpse. That's right. I am me. So, I finally managed to escape from Kinsel's bonds. Eventually, I felt the memory returning. The fact that I was an endless witch who had lived for 1,000 years. Then, I remembered that I had been summoned by Kinso, and I had been imprisoned by him for a long time. While being imprisoned in a cage of flesh, I completely lost my memory as a witch. However, thanks to Rosa, if you could say that, thanks to my accidental deaths, I had now finally regained myself. Rose, huh? You probably regret bringing about my death, but I should be thanking you. I couldn't see Rosa anymore. Did she go to call a doctor, or was she so terrified that she ran away? It no longer matters. That soulless shell no longer has any value. And yet, I'm so frail now. Even this glorious midday sun is agony to me. I destroyed my human form. Then I changed into several golden butterflies. Yes, with my magical power as frail as it is now, this form is easier to maintain. To escape even a little from the light of the sun, I rode the wind and gently flew up the side of the cliff. It'll probably be a bit cooler in the forest. Anyway, I'll take some time to recuperate and regain my former power, as I ponder how to make Kinzo pay up all he owes me. Dancing alone through the air, I looked down at the shore one more time. On the rocky shore lay the figure of what had once been me, the figure I would eventually regain. To regain the form of that physical body I had thrown away, it would probably take more than 200 days. And it might require 1,000 days, or perhaps even more. However, I am the Endless Witch, the Golden Witch who has lived for 1,000 years. Waiting any countable number of days would be no problem. Oh, Kinzo. Regret that you are not here now. No longer will you be able to capture me. Alright then. I can't imitate that cackle very well. And then, you changed into gold butterflies, hid in the forest, and waited for your magical power to be restored. Is that what you're saying? That is correct. I take this form to sneer at you, but most of the time it's easier magically for me to keep my form as gold butterflies. Feel free to take a load off and stick to whatever's easiest. I wouldn't mind not having to hear your irritating laugh. When I turned into butterflies and slipped into the forest, it was already no longer possible for Kinzo to find me. However, Kinzo was not dismayed. Still, he was not immediately able to prepare a way to catch me. So, he first moved to prevent me from leaving this island, and to keep me from regaining my power. My. At any rate, Kinzo's spitefulness was unimaginable. It was pretty tough to be loved by someone like that. He found a way to keep you from leaving after you turned into butterflies? What? Did he put a bug net around the entire forest? Indeed. A magical one. Didn't you know? On the sea in front of the harbor is a reef, upon which sits a small shrine of Eastern magic. Oh, that. It was gone by this year, though. It was a small shrine built long ago by a Shugenja, right? From the very beginning, Rokkenjima has been an island enveloped by a distortion. It attracts things of magical power and other related creatures. My lady herself is one of them. How about some more tea? Please. They brought harm to humans and probably left several eerie legends in their wake. That small shrine was built in ancient times by an Eastern magician who heard of them. A long time passed and that power was lost. By repairing it, Kinzo restored this island's barrier, and once again bound me to the island. Can Eastern magic work on a Western witch like you? Normally, the affinity would be poor. However, for the purpose of sealing me here, it may have been quite convenient in a way. If it was Western magic, I would have had some knowledge. For any barrier, there would have been some measures I could have taken. But Eastern magic is outside my area of expertise. It was as if I had been given chopsticks instead of a spoon for some soups that I wanted to drink. In a space dominated by Eastern magic, Western magic loses much of its power. Even if she were given 1,000 days to regain her strength, she would have to wait many, many more. So, you're saying it took you 20 years to regain your power? And now you've revived, as we can all see? Those were horribly long years. I spent many days in the form of gold butterflies, found Kinzo's mansion, and watched over him every day. I lived through those days with no means to enjoy myself except to ponder how I would get back at him. That period of 20 years was fortunate for me. Kinzo tried to use all sorts of magic to find and capture me, but each failed. There's a limit to how many miracles a single human can bring about. Even simply holding me captive for that long had been a miracle far above this place. It would be unthinkable for me to be captured like that multiple times. My father said something in the previous game. It was something like, magic lies in a miracle of probability. Indeed. As Kinzo was searching for a hidden art to capture me again, he stumbled upon that. Then, he finally worked out the ceremony involving the offering of 13 people as sacrifices to revive me again. 13 people as sacrifices. That is the witch's epitaph. A song of sacrifices. 6 people on the first twilight, 2 people on the second, and then 5 more people on the 4th through 8th twilights. A forbidden ceremony involving the offering of a total of 13 people as sacrifices. Those sacrifices were to be chosen randomly, and the one who held the ceremony, Kinzo himself, was no exception. Dumbass. Are you saying that all the gruesome murders on this island were a weird ceremony? I had a vague idea that this might be the case, but I couldn't just hear that it was true from a witch and a demon and say, "Oh really?" and accept it. There are 18 people on Rokkenjima. 13 are offered as sacrifices. 5 are left alive. Then I revive. In other words, the odds that Kinzo will be able to meet me again are probably around 1 in 3. He bet his own life on those odds, wishing for a reunion with me for the last bit of his remaining life. You're saying he gathered our family for the sake of that joke of a ceremony? Don't fuck with me. Don't say stuff like that, damn it! It was all set out in our contract from the beginning. When Kinzo's life ended, all the gold I lent him and all of the assets he created would be given to me. Yes, Kinzo did stab me in the back, quite brutally. But looking back now, it was a rare and precious time during my 1,000 years of life. After all, boredom is my natural enemy. A Kinzo who offered me a chance to run away from that for several decades. Yes, you could say I owe him for that. I decided to go along with Kinzo's game. So, to start, Kinzo returns the Ushirima family head's ring to me. It was my goal to revive the family, after all. Then, 13 people are chosen at random to be sacrifices. While that happens, you all run about, showing me all kinds of human interactions as you try to oppose me, and entertaining me greatly. Yes, I truly have taken a liking to this game of Kinzo's. Where are you from? I definitely won't believe in that kind of magic story. Then who are you? You fell off a cliff and died, right? Your soul slipped out, became butterflies, and went to the forest? That isn't possible! Yeah, for reference, I am from northeastern Washington State in America. Most of my viewers are from Europe. So yeah, it's pretty interesting seeing where people come in and see where they're from. No need to, but it's cool if you did. But you're here. Who are you? Aren't you the 19th person? He says this as he's in a spiral pink mansion sipping tea with a demon butler. He's kind of losing his logical train of thought. That is true. I am the 19th person. But it's useless, right? It's all useless. There are no more than 18 humans on this Rokkenjima. What did you say? So you're saying that the X in the 18 plus X doesn't exist? Are you saying the piece I took, the X, doesn't exist? That is what this means. My condolences. Still, you do move fast, my lady. And I thought you'd let him flounder about before spinning everything around at the end. Well then, Battler-sama, would some more tea be agreeable? I don't need it, damn it! I don't believe it. The culprit can't be one of the 18. Then, what are you, and why are you here? If the 19th person doesn't exist, then are you saying you're one of the 18 in disguise? Perhaps you're a castling. Though reluctantly, you are doubting one of the 18 people as your last way out. However, it will be difficult for me to keep... It will be difficult for me from here on out. If you choose to stop caring about propriety, you could prepare a culprit freely amid 18 people, making you reach checkmate by evading those 18 pieces. Will be truly difficult. As if I'd do that. I won't suspect any of the 18. I don't want to suspect people. Have I really been cornered here again? Damn it, damn it, damn it! It looks like we're finally approaching the end, in the third run of this game of ours. She is all of buff Goatman stuffed into one dress. That's why it's so big on the bottom that you can just... Goatman. You've nowhere to run anymore, right? You don't want to suspect any of those beloved people in the 18, do you? Were you trying to hide that from me? Then why do you refuse me? They say you should play the opening like a book, the middle game like a magician, and the end game like a machine. I'll corner you from here on. Slowly, carefully, surely. Or, on the other hand, would it be better if I pressed you all at once, which might suit your style more? Yes, that should fit you well. Let's do that. I'm now fully aware of the sorts of attacks you're weakest against. Yeah, his whole stance is very hard to hold ground if you don't question the 18 people here. They're not the best or most mentally sound people in the world either, so there's lots of room for error. But if we go with the premise that it's not one of these people, or a group of these people, then the arguments fall really, really hard. And they're proposing, getting married or whatever. Hey, so... This seems to be a repeat of the first game. Oh yeah, my bet for who the sixth died was, let's see it again. Kraus, Natsuhi, Rudolph, Curie, Rosa, and Kinzo, I think was my bet. Was my original bet. Let's see if I'm any good at gambling here. Or maybe not yet. Well then, how will this game be resolved? You may submit, or you may resist. Either way, it will truly be an entertaining banquet worth betting my short remaining life on. In his dimly lit study, occasionally brightened by lightning, Kinzo kept mumbling and laughing to himself. On the antique clock was the intricate design that had been sitting on his desk. The two overlapping hands tilted to the right and began to slide. The measure of time that counted up to 24 had returned to 0, and had begun to count back again. Measuring time is a brutal thing. It drags itself all the way to 24 over the course of a day, and then returns back to 0. It certainly did count to 23:59. However, is it ever able to reach 24? If you conclude that it returns to 0 again without reaching 24, how futile it must all be. Russia! Oh. And so is, Ushimiya too, I believe. But perhaps a person's life is the same. You live, aiming for a perfect 24, and in the instant you reach it, you return to 0. People will probably praise the departed, saying that he did reach 24, but he most certainly did not. In the end, he's a 0. Well, yeah, me? I'm, Washington State, America. Other side of the world. It's 5 in the morning for me right now. Hey, oh, hello, hello. Nyans, welcome, welcome. I am different. I will live and reach 24. That itself is the Golden Land, for that is where Beatrice dwells. Maybe. Well, they're just aspiring to be a witch, grand as majestic as yourself. They're endless, or what have you. I'm in BE, but from RU. I really need to learn up my world geography a bit more. I got a map up there, but BE, what is BE? Kenzo had been fumbling around with some tarot cards for some time. It looked as though he was trying to divine his own luck with the contest, doing it over every time he didn't like the result. The most forbidden act in tarot reading is trying to predict the same thing twice. Belgium? Or Russia? Okay, Belgium. Alright. Fair warning, my knowledge of the other continents is low. Not non-existent, but I'd have to pull up a map to know specifics. I know an ambiguous layout. To do so ridicules the results of fortune-telling, and also desecrates those beings higher than humans that give revelations to the tarot cards. However, Kinzo knew. Tarot cards shouldn't be used twice because, since they're nothing more than a random number generator, reading them twice will naturally cause a different result to appear. Therefore, reading them twice was only forbidden to preserve the mystique of the tarot card's result. And best chocolate. However, that didn't mean that Kinzo didn't take tarot reading seriously. Kinzo's interpretation of tarot reading was done in a completely different way. That was to repeat the reading over and over, without giving up in the slightest until he reached the result most favorable to him. The mark he set for his most favorable result would vary, but when he demanded the most favorable result in a strictly literal sense, it was the same as a simple roulette of luck, where he seeked an arithmetic miracle. However, Kinzo used miracles of numbers as the basis of his magical power, so this functioned perfectly well as a magical ritual. In other words, until the result he desired appeared perfectly, he would strive to repeat the tarot readings over and over with conviction, turning the feelings of his heart into prayers, so that when they reached the heavens they would be sublimated into results. This was Kinzo's personal magical interpretation. Therefore, even though Kinzo's tarot cards were no different from those generally used, the way in which they were used was completely different. Tonight will not go as I thought. Kenzo stopped his hands for a second. He seemed not to be getting the results he wanted. On the contrary, bad cards that shouldn't show up so often appeared repeatedly, and continued to interfere with the miracle Kinzo wished for. Is that how it is? Kinzo seemed to have received some revelation that was different from normal. But judging by the unlucky cards scattered across his desk, it was difficult to imagine that the omen had been a good one. For a while, Kinzo closed his eyes tightly, pondering something. Then, as the thunder roared, he made up his mind about something, took the telephone receiver and dialed. It is I. Is Genji there? An urgent matter has come up. Oh, thank you for the follow. Thank you. Cool. In front of the entrance hall, Shannon's once burning face had been cooled off by the frigid air. She had thought that George's proposal would surely come sooner or later. It wasn't as though she had prepared herself mentally, and she had answered by nodding. Had she been reckless because of her youth? Should she have thought about her future more seriously? I wonder if my immediate reply made him think I'm a cheap girl. If I'd at least waited until tomorrow morning, would that at least have shown him I was taking things seriously? Now that she'd already received the ring from George, Shannon kept fidgeting in embarrassment. I should have done this, I should have done that. Alright. As she did, she heard the sound of footsteps splashing through puddles. Shannon immediately chased away the emotions welling up inside her. Oh, well, thank you for the follow. It's my notifications. You're being hosted looked very, very similar to you're being followed, so my apologies. Thank you for the follow, Zekudo. um, I may miss things, so I apologize. Feel entirely free to call me out on anything. You guys have full reign to do that. Genji-sama. And Kanon-kun, too. I'm sorry. I have to go back soon. She grew stiff, thinking she'd surely be scolded for spending too much time in her secret lover's meeting with George. Shannon. The master told us to come to the study, saying it was urgent. Let's hurry. Huh? Yes, certainly. What in the world? He said he had a premonition of misfortune. How convenient for him, considering he's the one who started the ceremony. We will enter from the back, so that Goda doesn't notice us. Hide your footsteps. Yes. Nei-san, take care. You're so noisy. Okay, yeah. When, like, your only identifying feature is your username and you keep swapping that around, it makes it difficult for people to keep track of you, especially on the internet. Well, that's the only place you would use a username, so that's kind of redundant. But anyway, welcome back, I guess. If you keep changing, it'll be hard for me to remember, so forgive me for that. Cannon was especially good at hiding his footsteps. Just like a cat, he was able to suddenly be there without anyone noticing and leave in the same way. For example, even though he stepped in puddles, the sound he made was far smaller than that of the rain hitting them. Genji also had abilities of that kind. Or rather, those servants called furniture were supposed to be like that. Just like how desks and closets go unnoticed by members of the family, these servants also held it as a great virtue to just suddenly be there whenever they were needed. Compared to that, Shannon's footsteps still strongly asserted themselves. She was also trying to hide her footsteps, but compared to Kanon and Genji, well, you could say she was a little more boisterous. Eventually, they reached the back door, and the three of them entered the mansion. Immediately, they thought they felt something. It was different from a sense of smell, and it seemed to hit the depths of their noses. This hard-to-describe sensation, which you might call a sixth sense, allowed them to perceive that something was different than usual.
Genji-sama.
Genji-sama. Indeed. Let us hurry. That sensation made it feel as though a tense something was pressing in around them. Realizing that, the three of them dashed up the stairs, heading for Kinzo's study while still hiding their footsteps. When they dashed up the stairs, that smell of sweet poison, particular to Kinzo's study, reached their noses. What is it, Genji-sama? The barrier is dead. Huh? Oh. How are you, and have a good night? I'm doing alright. Reading some stories, and nice to see you again. No matter how short or how long it's been, you guys are always welcome to come back here at any time. That it's nice just popping in. Hello and goodbye, I guess. Come back whenever. Don't feel guilty or whatever for like having missed out on things. It's pretty relaxed out here. Except for all the murder and mayhem and magical nonsense. Aside from that, it's pretty chill in here. After hearing Cannon's words, she looked at the door to the study. A scorpion pattern was engraved on the doorknob, a powerful ward against magic, the final barrier which protected Kinzo himself. It had been broken. Of course, there was no change to the doorknob that the eye could see. However, those who could understand things people couldn't perceive were able to recognize that a dramatic change had occurred. Master, Master, it is Genji. Please open the door. Genji called in this way after knocking several times, but there was no answer from the study. Shannon, guard our backs. Cannon, search inside the room. Yes. Cannon put his ear against the door, searching for a presence inside the study. To protect the backs of the pair watching the door, Shannon faced the other way, ready for the unexpected. The master must be in here. But it's too quiet. Do you mean to say he's safe? No. It's too quiet. Could it possibly be? Open the door. Master, excuse us about the door. Genji pulled a golden key out of his pocket. It was the only key in the study that existed, other than the one Kinzo held. He stuck it in the keyhole and turned it heavily. At first glance, that seemed to prove that it was a sturdy lock. However, now that the barrier had been destroyed, this door might as well have been left open, from the viewpoint of anyone with magical power. The heavy sound just now meant that the door had been opened, even for humans. Excuse me. As Genji respectfully bowed his head, and Cannon's sense of tension grew tighter, and Shannon trembled, they entered the study. They immediately discovered Kinzo's figure. He was sitting on the reception sofa so that his back faced them. Genji noticed the person sitting across from him, and again bowed deeply. Cannon also noticed that person, but he didn't bow his head. He stood in front of Shannon and spread out his arms, blocking the way to her. Without even seeing that person's face, Shannon had already had a good idea of who it was. So, you have come, Beatrice-sama. Genji, is it? You came very quickly. Yes, it is always best when furniture answers to their master's call quickly. Unlike this person. So, Ronove-sama has come as well. Genji directed his greeting towards the thin darkness behind and to the right of Beatrice, where there shouldn't have been anything. Even Cannon and Shannon would have never imagined that someone was there. However, the darkness responded immediately and praised Genji's eyesight. As usual, you don't disappoint. It has been quite some time. Still, you've grown old, haven't you? Have so many years truly passed you by? My days have been full and satisfying. It appears you have been living quite a full life yourself, Ronove-sama. Yes, thank you. And Shannon, it has been a long time since I last saw you as well. You have grown quite beautiful. And it seems that you have grown quite strong. That is fortunate. Thank you very much. Nei-san, who in the world? This will be our first meeting, Cannon-kun. I, Ronove, have been entrusted with the position of Beatrice-sama's head furniture. I am an old friend of Genji-san's, and I am also furniture, just like you. Although the master I serve is different. The tense color didn't disappear from Cannon's face in the slightest. Depending on the master furniture served, they might be kind or brutal or anything else. If this person claimed to be furniture serving the hated Beatrice, then he must be despicable as well. It seems I'm thoroughly despised. It's as though you hate everything that has anything to do with me. Beatrice openly sneered at Cannon's hate-filled face. Then, Cannon finally realized. Beatrice and Kinzo were having a chess game across the reception table. But Kinzo hadn't even quivered. He was holding his head with both hands, his eyes closed tight as he contemplated his next move. Or was he in anguish? Master, I have told Kinzo two things. There was good news and bad news. The good news is that he'll have the good fortune of being reunited with me before the ceremony ends. The bad news is that Kinzo has been selected as the very first sacrifice in the ceremony. There's absolutely nothing I can do about it, because it truly was decided by the fickle roulette. Liar. We know you're just a murderer who kills for fun. Stop it, Canon-kun. So, Kinzo, isn't it about time you decided to accept your loss? With this, our long contest is at an end, yes? At a glance, it was hard to make out the situation on that chaotic chessboard. However, judging by Kinzo's anguish and Beatrice's malicious confidence, it seemed to be over already. It is unavoidable. Perhaps even this could be amusing. It is to me too. Resolving my contest with you may bring a flood of emotions, but it has already surpassed love and hate. It was fun. These past few decades certainly weren't boring. Beatrice advanced her queen and made her final move, and that decided it. Checkmate. This is my final tribute to you. Without any reservations. Sleep. Kinzo suddenly stood up and laughed like an opera singer facing a full crowd and spreading his arms, as though he had succeeded in a century-long plan. That laugh spat crimson. Crimson flames poured out from inside him, spitting even out of his mouth, ears, and nose, and all at once, his body was wrapped in hellfire. But Kinzo kept laughing. The more he laughed, the more the hellfire spewed from his entire body and began to char him. Those flames became a brilliant light, which dazzlingly shone on the various magical tools throughout the room, making their distorted shadows dance across the walls. Those shadows looked like the dead in hell, watching over Kinzo in ecstasy as he burned. And, for one who had made a contract with the witch, it was an extremely fitting end, in accordance with those terms. After laughing and howling in the roaring flames for some time, Kinzo flopped to the ground as though he was a puppet whose strings had been cut. Those incredible blazing flames disappeared as though he'd been completely burned up, and afterwards nothing remained but a festering and burnt corpse that one could hardly bear to look at. Well, that was lovely. Horrible. You should talk. As if you didn't think that was a fitting way for him to die. Why have you shown yourself? Do you have some business with us? Stop it, Canon-kun. You mustn't provoke Beatrice-sama. It would seem you have them absolutely terrified. I imagine I'll never get along with Canon. Hey, it's not as though I dislike you, particularly. Beatrice grinned. Canon violently averted his gaze, obviously unhappy. His reaction was so different from what he wanted to do that it made the witch and her butler laugh. Canon, you stand in the presence of Beatrice-sama. Carefully consider your manner of speech. Oh, I care not, Genji. Let him say what he pleases. I am gracious. How are you gracious? I am always gracious to those who are about to die. Canon was taken aback by that creepy laughter. Beatrice wasn't here just to take Kinzo's life. The first twilight required 6 sacrifices. Kinzo alone wasn't nearly enough, and they just casually walked in here. Fear not, Canon. It isn't as though you'll be selected as sacrifices just because you came here. After all, you were called here because you'd been selected already. What? Their instincts were good enough to spot her meaning instantly. 6 sacrifices were required for the first twilight. After Kinzo, how many more would you need to add up to 6? In this mansion, the number 5 instantly made them think of the number of servants here. Is that what you desire? Indeed? Thank me, furniture. Tonight, your days of suffering will finally end. You ought to thank me for coming here to tell you this. Certainly, if that is your desire. Genji-sama! Genji had agreed to the witch's heartless announcement with his usual demeanor, without raising an eyebrow. Now that the master is dead, Beatrice-sama is our master. Responding to her demand shall be our final duty. Shannon. Canon. You have done well serving until today. That hard work is now over. As I expected of you, Genji. As your fellow furniture, I'm proud to have known you. Shannon. Do you have any objections? No. I heard that George-sama gave you a ring. Do you still say that you have no regrets? Yes. That blessing was more than furniture deserves. Just receiving the ring has already satisfied my feelings. Shannon couldn't take quite as much of a philosophical view as Genji. There probably were regrets left in her heart. She probably wanted to spend a little more warm time with the person she cared for, George. But she released herself from that. She took a single deep breath, and a blank expression rose to her face. Very well. It does surprise me a tad to find that you've gained such composure, Shannon. It seems you too have taken a philosophical view as furniture. Won't you at least shed some bitter tears for not being able to spend a night with the man you love? What a boring woman. This feeling cannot be understood by the likes of you, Beatrice-sama. If you desire our lives, please accept them. We will solemnly carry out that duty. Very well. Excellently put. Just the type of person Beatrice-sama can't handle. She's been taking such a far-sighted view of things lately. I must have tormented her too much last time. Speaking of which, didn't I do the same to Battler? Am I still soft? Or is the way I corner them lacking? In any case, she's just no fun. However, it seems you will still entertain me, right? Canon? Canon-kun. Compared to the two who had taken a far-sighted approach, there was a painful anguish on Canon's face. Canon was still far too young to accept his demise after being told of it by a suddenly appearing witch. Canon? I hate boredom more than anything. And the fact that the other two have obediently accepted their deaths isn't amusing at all. Still, I hope you don't betray my expectations. Are you trying to make me your plaything? Canon realized that he was being provoked. However, no matter how furiously anger spurred him on, his opponent was a witch. He was furniture. He hadn't had a chance of victory from the beginning. But the witch was expecting that he'd struggle in vain and writhe around, and was even looking forward to it. Just thinking about that was frustrating enough to get his blood boiling. Was disappointing the witch by refusing to resist like the other two, the only way he could strike back at her? Eldest of the 7 Sisters of Purgatory, Lucifer, arise. Lucifer of Pride, right here. Canon? It would be far too cruel to force furniture to fight a witch. No matter how much anger spurs you on, you would have no hope in battle without a chance of success. Of course, such a battle would be boring for me as well. So, let it be furniture against furniture. Why not resolve it with a battle between you two? That should be enough to allow you some hope for victory, right? Forgive me, Beatrice-sama, but how could I be inferior to this good-for-nothing furniture? As if this cutie would have any chance against me. Prove that you can defeat my furniture, the 7 stakes of purgatory. If you manage to win through, let us see. I will let you select the 5 who will escape becoming one of the 13 sacrifices. I will welcome the 5 you recommend into the Golden Land without any conditions. How about that? Canon understood that he was being provoked. However, the witch's offer was very tempting. By this point, Canon couldn't care less about his evil ceremony the witch and the rest were trying to carry out. On the contrary, it was much more important that he remain alive so that he could be invited to the Golden Land, and have his wish granted by Beatrice there. You cried, saying that you've had enough of being furniture, right? I shall grant you your desire. I shall give you that human body you wanted so much. You cried yourself to sleep. What do you say? That way, you and Jessica could be together forever. Yes? Oh, just perfect. You may recommend that Jessica and yourself be invited to the Golden Land. If you alone finding happiness isn't a satisfying solution for you, then you can add in Shannon and George, the ones she loves. If you're worried about duties, then you can also add Genji. Oh, that's 5 people. Isn't that enough, Canon? Was this much of a reward? You won't let me get bored, will you? She's just playing with you. There is no need to listen to her. I don't like it. Are you okay with this, Nason? Beatrice couldn't hide her evil smile at those words. I don't like it. I want to be happy. I've had enough of being furniture. I want to become human and have normal love. I want to know that the ocean is blue, like you. How young. I'm jealous. That's why I like the young ones. Genji, Shannon, stay back. Canon, Lucifer, forward. As you command. I don't like it. That way you look down on me. As if Beatrice-sama would be impossible. But with me at least you'd have a chance. I really don't like it. That's pride speaking. That was probably humiliating for Lucifer. But at the same time, she was also happy that she was lucky enough to have this adorable prey all to herself. Come, furniture of the witch. Don't think that you can look down on me forever. So, Battler, isn't this a fun show? Damn it. Another weird thing's happening. I could ever believe in a magic battle. Look, look. Don't turn your eyes away. Look at it. Those graphics are amazing. Look, look, look. It's magic. It's furniture. No matter how much you try to deny me in magic. Look, 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 look. I've got all this happening right in front of you. It'd be a waste to miss it, don't you think? Look, look, look! Just stop thinking. Magic exists. This is fantasy. Don't close your eyes. Look closely. Look, 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 look. Damn it, damn it, damn it, damn it. I won't accept witches. I won't accept magic. But if it's being done right in the open like that, what am I supposed to say? Damn it. Come now. Don't turn away. Look closely, okay? Magic exists. This is fantasy. So stop playing detective. I know your secret. You actually don't really like to think things through, right? Then just stop. Stop. Look, look. It's gotta be fantasy. Gotta be fantasy. Shut up, shut up, shut up! Don't talk to me. This guy's getting stubborn. Won't you apologize and crawl on the ground right now for being so conceited that you thought you could beat me? If you did, I wouldn't mind forgiving you, okay? Then you wouldn't have to have your skin ripped off while you're still alive. Or get lashed all over your body as you squirm until you die. You're a cutie, so apologize. If you do, I'll finish you off so gently while it still feels great. Be silent, furniture of the witch. I have no intention of speaking with you. So you're saying you think nothing of me? That disrespectful gaze of yours is really ticking me off. Canon-kun. Isn't he stronger than he was against Satan? This is why humans are so frightening. In fact, sometimes they even become witches and treat demons as butlers. So which should I cheer on? Most ambitious movie since Avengers. Indeed, even a bigger cast too. Are you saying this guy's on par with me? Don't look down on me. As long as you have that pride, you'll never defeat me. She's the embodiment of pride. You speak of Lucifer, the eldest of the seven sisters of Purgatory, and say that I cannot win? How conceited. What? Canon was desperately trying to stay alive, and he had a strong desire to become human. But Lucifer didn't feel anything stronger than a slight desire to play. So, that led to an inevitable result. It was a result that could be reached by the power of humans. The power of the heart. That's as far as you go. You cannot win against me. The glowing red curve extended straight out from Canon's arm, pointing at Lucifer's throat, just beneath the tip of her chin. What is this? How could I? There must be some mistake. As she ground her teeth in irritation, she tried to deny the truth right before her eyes. But no matter how much she believed in her own superiority, it didn't change the facts right in front of her. Oh? Well done, Canon. Wonderful. You haven't bored me. How pitiful my furniture is compared to that. Lucifer, you are boring, my lady. Was this opponent really too much for you to handle? I'm disappointed, eldest of the seven stakes. It would have seemed like mere rebuke to an outsider. However, furniture serving the witch knew that kind of severe treatment was promised by that rebuke, and understood what had been unsaid. You good-for-nothing furniture! She howled. Abandoning her last bit of pride, she made her body explode, exposing her true form. That form was a demon's stake, which bounced off the walls surrounding the room. How could you shame me so much? Kill, 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 kill! You blockhead! Even though you can't even follow my movements anymore. I won't play around anymore. I'm seriously mad. I'll pierce your heart in one blow. I'll plow right through you, make a fountain of bright red blood reach the ceiling. Die! Cannon-kun. After flying about wildly for some time with a speed approaching the limits of what a human eye could follow, Lucifer flew at Cannon's heart. She could tell that it was Cannon's blood by the sweet taste of it, but she quickly noticed one thing. She hadn't pierced his heart. Oh? This is why humans are frightening. Would you like some black tea? I am fine for now. This is so amusing. I don't even need any. Cannon-kun. You were arrogant again. I told you that you wouldn't be able to defeat me. The floor was stained with dripping blood. It really was Cannon's blood, but it wasn't flowing out of his chest. Cannon had sacrificed his own left hand to protect his heart. Lucifer was arrogant, even though she'd been given enough time to realize that this was an opponent capable of cornering her. In her pride, she had believed him to be worthless. She had gotten careless. So, just as she had announced, she had aimed for his chest, trying to pierce his heart. Because she was arrogant, she hadn't even thought of aiming for somewhere other than the place she had announced. No, maybe she had thought about it a little. However, her pride would not allow her to aim for a different spot. After all, she was Lucifer of Pride. Cannon, withstanding the pain, grasped the demon stake sticking deep into his left hand strongly with his right hand, and pulled it out. When she heard the sound of breaking bones and even more blood dripping down, Jenin looked away reflexively. There was an air hole in the back of the pierced hand so big you could clearly see through to the other side. Cannon's face was filled with pain, but right now, he had won, without a doubt. The demon stake he was gripping with his right hand turned back into Lucifer again. The cannon was now gripping exactly where her neck was. It's my victory, Beatrice. Cannon didn't hold back at all with the right hand gripping Lucifer's throat. She had challenged him again after their fight had already been decided. Cannon had no obligation to be considerate. But even so, Cannon released the witch's furniture. Was it his naive humanism, his pity for another furniture, or a final bit of respect to the witch? In any case, when she was released, Lucifer fell face down on the ground, retching and moaning over the pain in her throat. Spectacular, Cannon. Your great efforts have proven the correctness of some of Kinzo's research. Ronove was clapping his hands. To Cannon, who had won at great cost and had a wound on his left hand that wouldn't close, Ronove's applause only felt like mockery. All possibilities dwell within the human heart, was it? My, this is why humans are frightening. Well done, Cannon. You were victorious. Spectacular. Are you okay, Cannon-kun? Shannon ran up to him and wrapped a handkerchief around his left hand, which was still spraying blood. That was incredible, Cannon. Truly incredible. Even I was hoping at least a little for an upset. That you didn't let me down makes you truly splendid furniture. I think better of you now. I honestly think better of you. You haven't forgotten our promise, right, Beatrice? Indeed. Of course I haven't forgotten. Witches and demons may be inhumane. However, we are much more noble than humans when it comes to keeping promises. I will not go back on my word. I guaranteed that if you won, I would give you the right to decide the 5 people who escaped becoming the 13 sacrifices. Beatrice-sama, it's not like I've When Beatrice waved her pipe, heaven and earth turned over just for Lucifer. Though as a horribly natural result, she fell into the ceiling. The ceiling doesn't seem that high to people standing on the floor. However, people who fall on it upside down and head first usually don't agree. My lady, is that a little much? Perhaps you were right. I suppose I'll forgive her. Beatrice waved her pipe again. When she did, the magic that had been affecting Lucifer was released. So, as a horribly natural result, this time she fell properly back onto the floor. Graphics. Beatrice-sama, forgive me. What are you so afraid of? I have already forgiven you, haven't I? So, Canon, shall we continue? Continue what? You aren't saying you want me to finish her, are you? No. It isn't over yet, right? What isn't? Stop dodging the question. I did promise you your reward, didn't I? If you could defeat my furniture, the 7 stakes of purgatory, right? Come, arise, the 7 stakes of purgatory. The 6 younger sisters of the worthless elder sister. The air split with shrill laughter, and as a golden splash scattered about, the remaining 6 sisters of purgatory showed themselves. All the 7 sisters of purgatory were here after Canon was able to defeat only one by sacrificing his left arm. By now, Canon regretted his thoughtlessness in accepting the witch's challenge. He had been foolish to assume that a game against the witch would be on an even footing. Lame. One-sama, why are you crawling on the floor? You people. I told you, One-sama's useless. Even though she acts like she's so great just because she's the oldest, that's only on the outside. Yeah, seriously. Lucifer One-sama, your disgraceful behavior will damage the reputation of us all. Know your shame, you novice. Cheating 101. It's not cheating. Canon-kun, that was totally awesome. But don't get cocky, okay? Lucifer One-sama brags all the time, but she's no big deal compared to the rest of us sisters. It's called exploiting and loopholes. That's why I'm always saying Lucifer One shouldn't do anything. Just let her keep bragging all the time. After all, those of us with talent can handle all the tough jobs. What are you gonna do, One-sama? Out of respect for your pride, we were planning to stay out of your way in the hopes that you'd challenge him again in that beat-up body of yours. But Canon-kun sure is strong, right? Right now, no matter how much you struggle, there's no way you could win, right? You people. My, you sisters are always so lively. Is this any time to fight amongst yourselves? It's only together that you're the 7 stakes of purgatory, correct? Now play nice and execute the tasks I give you. And swiftly, okay? Hey, Lucifer One-sama, if you want to borrow the power of your little sisters, then say it, okay? We want to hear you ask us for help with your own mouth. Do you plan to mock me even more? I, the foolish, weak, ugly, and shameful Lucifer, the eldest sister, beg my younger sisters to save me. Come on, let's hear it. If you let us hear it, we'll save you. Okay? Everyone? You bitch. The 7 sisters of Purgatory unanimously closed in on their worthless sister, abusing her. Even Cannon, who had been fighting for his life until a second ago, couldn't bear to look at it. As if I could say something like that. Quickly now. Clearly, we won't make any progress here with you alone. Hurry up, let's let 7 sisters strike Cannon. My, what is the matter, Lucifer? This is an order from Our Lady, is it not? How cruel. After grinding her teeth over and over after hearing her sister's curses, Lucifer trembled all over and answered her sister's request. I, the foolish, weak, ugly, and shameful Lucifer, the eldest sister, beg. The girl known as Pride was finally unable to endure the words she was saying, and broke down crying. However, the 6 younger sisters kept giggling cold-heartedly. And I think that'll be time for today. Wait a sec. Perfect time, I guess. Apparently, the 7 deadly sins are not very friendly people. Who would have thought? Or the 7 stakes of purgatory, rather, I guess, is the proper title. But magicalness, burning down Kinzo, killing Beatrice, stabbing Cannon. All the people already decided for the death. Well, I got at least one of the people correct for my first bet. One person I got right, but low chances of me being right elsewhere. We'll have to play odds with Cannon's ability to fight. Hey. I know this is the second time I've saved with a Lady of Purgatory sitting on the right side of the screen with some small little bit of text. I find that odd. Anyway, have a good one, everybody. I'll be back Sunday with some anime. We'll be watching the rest of Black Rock Shooter, and we'll try something a bit more if we have time. Anyway, see y'all later. Have a good one.